Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Look. Wrestling 101, classes in session. Pay attention to the teachings, that's from Andrew and Derek. I mean, these guys making a killing with no competition. Dynamic duo better than the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys. Everybody make some noise, mess with them, you get destroyed. They cannot be beat, take a seat. Watch them do they thing on the MIC. Face defeat, they cannot be seen like JC. Oh my goodness, it's a killing spree.
This is the one and only Larry Legend. You're listening to Wrestling Q 101.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Wrestling IQ 101. I'm Andrew alongside Derek.
You.
And you can follow us at Wrestling IQ 101 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And today we're sitting with the former owner and Ring of Honor ambassador, Cary Silkin. How's it going?
Hey guys, thank you for having me on. And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood here, so let's do it.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we talked about this just prior, but maybe for the audience who want to hear it, how did you feel about All In, that whole event, that whole weekend?
The event, looking back on it with 2020 hindsight or Monday morning quarterback kind of thing, it was the perfect storm from the time the tickets went on sale until, through, then you had the many months off, and then when it came to the show, this perfect storm continued. And I have been to so many concerts, so many sporting events, Yankees World Series Game 7s, Rangers Stanley Cup playoff games. I'm a New York guy, and so many good concerts at the Garden and other places, and not to mention pro wrestling from the 70s with Bruno and Hogan. I was at WrestleMania 1. I was at, just tons and tons of it, not to mention all the great Ring of Honor events. And I've never seen a crowd so hot from start to finish. And I've never, I got to tip my hat to these guys, to the Young Bucks, and Cody. They booked an incredible card. It was wonderful, and I'm very happy for them. And it was nice to be part of it. I felt good to be part of it.
Yeah. So, Cary, let me ask you this, because you ran a wrestling company. How do wrestlers and companies, capitalize off of this success?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the guys that were on the show?
Yeah. Like, how they, is there a way for them now to take that and catapult?
I believe that I was listening to something today that allegedly or supposedly the Fight app did the record business with this show. So the exposure from All In to these guys that were on the show that are still not, breakout stars. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm not able to name them here. MJF, is that one of them?
Yeah.
And Joey Janela, who's, he's good, but, he's not really signed. He's not a Ring of Honor guy, put it that way. And so on and so forth. And Nat Cross came back out of nowhere. I don't know where the heck he's been, but he was great. So the exposure they got from that show, I'm sure could get them other bookings and propel them to, some other, they, everyone who was involved in that show was exposed to a huge crowd. And I'm not talking about the 10,000 or 11,000 now. I don't know where they got the other 1,000 people. But I don't know where they came from, but that's all right. But the people that watched it on this Fight app, if this statistic is true, and they did $1 million, I don't know, 20 times 100 is 2,000. So 2,000. You got to do the math. So 1,000 buys would have been $20,000. So you're talking about 5,000 times 10. So you're talking about 50,000 buys.
Yeah.
Which would be incredible. That would be incredible. And if that happened, and let's just say it did, or it came close to it, that would be astounding. I mean, the numbers that TNA would get for, and even WWE, they haven't been, it's different. I really can't mention WWE now because of the network, but getting pay-per-view buys is difficult, and I guess the Fight app will count as that, sort of. So a lot of people saw the show, and a lot of people saw these guys, whether it was the main eventers or these newer players that were lucky enough to be on that show, and hopefully they could parlay it from there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Cary, when it came to putting All In together, like, why do you think Cody and the Young Bucks were so successful? Like, what did they do different from what any other promotion would do?
I don't think they did. Well, like I said, it was the perfect storm. When they put the tickets on sale, you guys, everyone knows the story. It was off of a sort of a bet, a dare by Dave Meltzer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he said that, I don't think they could draw 10,000 people, and Cody ran with it. He's really smart, and he's got a lot of guts. And from the moment it went on sale, when they put the tickets on sale, a couple of weeks before that, Ring of Honor had a show in New York City. And I've been in the ticket business since the 80s, and I've had my own ticket agency for the last 20 years. So I know a lot about tickets and, just how they're sold and when's the right time to put them on sale. At least I thought I did. Yeah. So I told those guys, they were telling me they're going to put them on sale on a Sunday afternoon. And that was when Ring of Honor was in Chicago, because they were conveniently going to be at Pro Wrestling Tees. And I told those guys, I've known the Bucks for 10 years, and they're like my West Coast kids. I've been to both their houses. They've stayed with me numbers of times, and they're great guys. They're great kids. And I told them, and I told Cody, dude, you can't put them on sale on Sunday afternoon. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Most concerts, most events, whether it's WWE or whether it's Jay-Z or Metallica or whomever, go on sale on Monday mornings at 10 o'clock. That's just common. And usually there's a pre-sale in this day and age. And they told me, well, we've made this plan already, so we got to. They couldn't change the on-sale time. And guess who was wrong? Me. Everything I said was wrong. Like I said, I'm going to stop using this phrase. It was the perfect storm. And so why were they so successful, was your question. I think it was the right timing. The people got behind them. They wanted to be part of. They wanted to be all in. They wanted to support these wrestlers who were, even though they're affiliated with Ring of Honor and New Japan, they wanted to support them on this separate effort they were doing. So, and the other thing was, Labor Day weekend traditionally is a terrible weekend to draw people. It's the last big weekend of the summer. You guys know this. Yeah. And a lot of people go down the shore or go wherever. You're in Chicago. There is no shore. But they go away and do what they do and hang out and take a little trip. But they were able to overcome all these things. Even Vince McMahon, when Chris Jericho brought this up to Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon, the greatest wrestling promoter of all time, told Jericho, those kids should have called me, right? Like they're going to call him. So September's very tough to draw, and it is. Yeah. But they did it. They did it, and, they came across as geniuses. It just was it's a beautiful thing, and I'm very happy for these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, being a former owner of Ring of Honor, when you're watching the show, is there anything that you're looking at that you're thinking like, oh, I would have booked this differently, or oh, I would have did this differently?
Well, watching that show, and you guys saw it,
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything to do differently.
Yeah.
They nailed it. They friggin' nailed it. Ring of Honor was a partner. It's not a secret. They were a partner in the production. They were, they helped them behind the scenes. I mean, those guys ran the show. They ran the show, and they booked the show exclusively. It was their thing. Ring of Honor had nothing to do with that. But Ring of Honor, had a lot to do with the production and, getting the building and things people don't think of, the insurance, this, that. So, but as far as to answer your question, I wouldn't have done anything different. How could you?
Yeah.
If you have the hottest event, like I'm saying, the hottest crowd from start to finish I've ever seen, what the hell am I going to do different? No, it was amazing. I mean, just the order of the matches, nothing mattered. When I say nothing mattered, it just was like laid out perfectly. And I bet you if you would have taken those matches and put them in a bag and shook them up like number one, number two, so on and so forth, and just pulled them out differently, maybe leaving the Bucks at the end, but all the other ones just mix them up, it still would have been great. It just wouldn't have came off great.
Yeah.
So how can I criticize anything about that show?
Cary, I grew up in New Jersey, but my dad and my parents grew up in New York, and Madison Square Garden was like a second home to me. How excited were you when they announced that Madison Square Garden would be the home for ROH event and selling out so quickly?
I was blew. It was. I'm still speechless. I'm mumbling. It was incredible. I too grew up going to the Garden. I lived in New Jersey, about 45 minutes outside the city. My dad would take me to hockey and to Yankee games. He didn't like wrestling. Mm-hmm. And you guys probably don't know this, but up until 1974, talking about ancient history here, but up until 1974, they had blue laws in New York City that at the Garden, they didn't enforce it at the smaller buildings in New York State, but at the Garden, you had to be 14 years old to attend a boxing and wrestling show. Did you guys know that?
No, I think Bill Apter. I think he wrote about that in his book.
Okay, yes. So
yeah.
Yes. So I was dying to go to see wrestling at the Garden, and once again, my dad was like, he liked real sports. So, but he was cool, and so for my 14th birthday, he took me to the Garden, which, by the way, was Pedro Morales against Classy Freddie Blassie. Oh, wow. It was fantastic. And I had a cousin, my cousin Mike, who was like 4 years older than me. He was also a wrestling fan. And we started going, after that, every month. They would have wrestling once a month at the Garden. It was always on a Monday night. And we would go in, and by, within like 2 or 3 years, I was 16, 17, 18, we could take the train or the bus from where I lived. So I lived in the Garden, not just wrestling, but concerts and, running around the city. So to have Ring of Honor be at Madison Square Garden and sell it out is just so cool. Now, 5 years ago, and you guys will remember this, WWE did WrestleMania in New York at MetLife Stadium, where the Jets play. Yep. And Ring of Honor back then was not in a position. We were at the Hammerstein 2 nights. Actually, I think we were at the Manhattan Center. I don't even think we were at the Hammerstein. But, we ran that for 2 nights. And within this 5-year period, the growth of Ring of Honor has been really strong. The partnership with New Japan has been a huge help. And the Ring of Honor product has caught on. And here we are, selling out the Garden. Nobody would have predicted that.
Yeah. Now, with all the achievements that Ring of Honor has had, there's kind of like one thing that's left for them to do, and that's probably to go live and compete on a bigger stage. Now, what do you think are the steps that Ring of Honor has to take to produce a live show and to go live and be competitive with the WWE?
I totally agree with you. I don't want to knock the current. It's all right. I have nothing to do with the Ring of Honor business. I did for a long time, but I just don't, and it's okay. But as far as the current, the Sinclair management and Joe Koff, he is, there were a lot of growing pains, and we've gone from 72 TV stations to 150 stations. I know there's still not a station in New York, but as far as doing it live, I know it's in the cards, and it's not easy to just do. They were supposed to, I don't want to quote the wrong thing, but they had that Tribune Broadcasting deal. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's dead or not, but I'm sure over the next few years we might be seeing that. Everybody knows you really need to be live, at least with your TV show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To compete in this day and age of the internet and everything. And I think it's going to happen. I have a lot of faith in Joe Koff. He's the perfect guy to run this. And another guy, Greg, in the office, who does a lot of the business decisions. They're working towards that. It's not easy to do. It's just not easy. But considering the steps we've seen, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. One guy I love listening to is Jim Cornette. How is it working with him on a daily basis?
Oh my! I was talking today with Kevin Sullivan,
right.
and his name came up, and I'm going to say that during my administration as owner, I had no problems with Jim. He had a little problem later on with Ring of Honor, but I loved working with him. I think I'm the only wrestling promoter in the history of wrestling that Jim never had a blowout with. He's so knowledgeable, and he's such a good guy, and he's passionate. He goes wacky. He's passionate. I don't know if you guys remember this or you're aware of this. I think you'll be aware of it. But back in 2009, when we lost Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness on the same night, they were leaving Ring of Honor in September of 2009. I forget the exact date, but I got a hold of Jim Cornette, and he had just a couple of weeks before that had been released by TNA. And we had him come in as a surprise. We also had former ROH champion and New York icon Homicide come in as a surprise. And we were able to sort of take the blow of losing Bryan and Nigel on the same night. But, yeah, Jim is I love Jim, and I would love, when he would work for us, I would go out to dinner with him and hang out and just talk wrestling and wrestling history and wrestling philosophies. You guys know how he is. He doesn't like anything that, let's say, insults the business in his mind. Like a Joey Ryan kind of thing. He doesn't care for that. But that's okay. He's entitled. He's done so many good things in the business, as a talent, as a booker, as a promoter with Smoky Mountain, and as a writer, and it's hard to criticize. I find it hard to criticize him if he doesn't like some of these modern day things that people get a kick out of. Oh well, that's the way it is. But I love Jim.
Yeah, I was just reading an article about ROH maybe having a Hall of Fame, and you just mentioned Homicide. How would you feel about Homicide, Low Key, and the Hit Squad being in the Hall of Fame if there should ever be one?
There should be. And, Mike Johnson from Pro Wrestling Insider, who's been a huge supporter of the product, and I've known Mike now for the whole length of it. He's a good guy, and he was talking about this Hall of Fame, and I'm not interested in being in the Hall of Fame. Let these guys lay the groundwork, for ROH, the talent, the Briscoes, Homicide, even, low key, these early guys that, I don't know how much early Ring of Honor you've seen, but, Christopher Daniels, so on and so forth. There's a laundry list of people, and if you look at the roster we've had over the years, it's an amazing roster, and it still is. And we need a Hall of Fame. It'll come. We'll see what happens. And there's so many people that look at all the guys that are in WWE that should be in it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like do you feel like a proud dad when you see them on Raw or SmackDown?
Absolutely. Look, over the years, there's certain guys, it's like anything else in life. There's certain guys you're close with, certain guys that you might see month after month, whenever there's a show. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? And that's it. But then there's guys that you develop a rapport with, like Bryan Danielson, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I never had a sour word, ever. We hung out maybe a couple of times going out, but we're not like buddy. And I don't really communicate with him. I'm so happy for his success. CM Punk, I was a little friendly with, not much,
mm-hmm.
but but then you got guys like Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens,
mm-hmm.
and Seth Rollins, Tyler, and like those guys I was close with, and we used to hang out. I mean, back when Tyler was in Ring of Honor, he didn't drink, and I didn't drink, and so he didn't like to hang out with the other guys, like after the show, and he used to stay with me. It's a little known thing. He probably wouldn't want me saying that, but it's okay. He would stay, on the road, not every time, but sometimes. And he's just a great dude, and I'm so happy for his success. Same with Generico, Sami Zayn. It's amazing how, these guys have baffled the odds. They're not supposed to make it in WWE
mm-hmm.
with their body types and what Vince McMahon ultimately likes. So I'm so happy for their success. And, there's a whole nother crew, and you know who they are. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, who both of them I was very close with. And I still speak with these guys, not often,
mm-hmm.
but occasionally. And as opposed to Brian, who I haven't spoke with since he left Ring of Honor, but that's okay. And the other guys I speak to once in a while, Kyle O'Reilly called me when he was up for SummerSlam weekend, the NXT show. I couldn't make it to the city that weekend, but it's really cool. And yes, I do feel like a proud dad. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to lose guys to WWE. It's just the way it is. It's like we're never going to be able to hold guys on a financial level. I mean, Sinclair has a much better chance than it did with me. But you're always, guys are going to want to make the most money possible. Who wouldn't? Yeah. So it's just the way it is. And then it opens up space for other guys to come up. So that's how Ring of Honor has always functioned and still does to this day.
Now, with all the great talent that has come through Ring of Honor, did Ring of Honor ever have an official working relationship with the WWE? Because it seems like that was the NXT before NXT.
Never. Matter of fact, it always used to seem like WWE was trying to sabotage us. I'll give you an example. And this is going back to 2006, 7, 8. We would announce a date. Like, let's just say, we're going to be in Detroit on December 3rd, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and we put the tickets on sale, 3 months before, and all of a sudden, they would announce Raw is coming to Detroit on the Monday after or before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on? They there's a limited budget the wrestling fans can spend. So they're going to have to, and you wouldn't think, especially going back 10 years, that they would care. But it was crazy. They would always, we'd be drawing 500, 700 people, and I'm like, they need to be messing around with us. But it seemed like they did, and we never had a working relationship with them. Never. No.
Now, what you kind of say where you're like WWE is kind of messing with you guys, is that kind of the reason why you started running shows on like WrestleMania weekends to kind of like take advantage of their buzz and kind of like get back at them? Yeah.
Well, that started back in 2004 when it was WrestleMania 20. Yeah, WrestleMania 20 was at Madison Square Garden. That was the one with Benoit and Guerrero.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we ran the Rexplex in Elizabeth, and we had for us it was like a huge success, 1,500 people or something like that, 1,400, I forget, but it was well over 1,000. So after that, we took it on the road, and I believe the first year might have been in Detroit or it might have been in Chicago. I can't remember, but we would have special attractions. Dragon Gate came in. We brought Bruno Sammartino to Detroit. We'd always have big shows. And we definitely would run. This is before there was a WrestleCon and everything. But now, I don't know if you guys have gone to any WrestleManias over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yep.
So you guys know there's last year in New Orleans, there was, 30 wrestling shows?
Yeah, WrestleCon.
Something like that. So, plus the WrestleCon. And it seems that there's enough fans to go around.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor did almost 7,000 people in New Orleans, and there was a lot of competition. And plus, you're competing against the Hall of Fame or the NXT show, one of the two. So, you got to do that. You got to do that. I'm sure Vince McMahon is very sour about the Madison Square Garden thing, but what can he do? You can't have it all, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let me ask you this. How do you feel about the extension of, Women of Honor and Future of Honor? Do you think that's going to help in the long run?
Sure, it's going to help. I think women's wrestling is, compared to even 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, women's wrestling is, a lot better. And the competition in the ring compared to the Divas era certainly is way better. And Ring of Honor, the Women of Honor, has a very good crew and a great champion. I love Sumi Siaki. She's been with us since day one. And as far as the Future of Honor, you got to give some of these new guys and some of these rookie types and guys that come to the Ring of Honor camps, which is, by the way, one of the only ways to break into Ring of Honor if you're not established. You got to give them a place to start. So you're not going to see any miracles out of the Future of Honor, but you'll see some guys, starting to elevate. And you never know. You might see a miracle here and there. But it's important. I feel it's important to have them now, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what do you think about how companies have recently partnered up, like you said earlier, Ring of Honor and New Japan, Impact and Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, Impact? Do you think that's good for the business?
I definitely do. Why fight? You're fighting City Hall with WWE, right? So why not, help the neighborhood? and participate with each other. I know that TNA, and maybe you guys know better than I do, Impact, the guys can wrestle other places.
Yeah.
I believe, for the most part. And it's good, and like the All-In show was evidence of this kind of mixing. There's the Lucha Underground guys and Pentagon and Phoenix. And, it's great. And then on the Chris Jericho cruise, there's going to be it's on the high seas. There's no law, so it's going to be Ring of Honor against Impact, sort of.
World, right?
Yeah.
Couple of matches, right? So, it is good for the business, and this is a great time for the wrestling business right now. It's just a great time. I don't think it's been this healthy and non-WWE stuff we're talking about. Has been this healthy in a long time. It's a really exciting period to be in the business or to be a fan, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, and do you also think with these companies partnering up, does it kind of show like fans really don't want stories anymore? Because kind of like these guys, it's kind of like they're just taking the big names and putting them against another big names. And it's not really like build-ups to a lot of these. So do you think fans are still interested in stories, or they're kind of straying away?
I do think they're interested in stories. But, when you have these marquee matchups like you're just referring to, you really can't. I guess the story is that these guys have never wrestled each other, and that's the way it is, But as far as storytelling and wrestling, it's still valid. When you think there are no more stories, if you think there are no more stories to tell, right?
Yeah.
Then that would mean there'll be no more books ever written, or no more movies ever made, because every friggin' story must have been told already, right?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't make that up. Dutch Mantel taught me that.
Oh, man.
Not a bad person to learn from, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Cary, when you first bought the company, did you ever think in your wildest dreams that you would go overseas or different parts of the country? No?
No. It was like a big deal the first time we went to Boston, and when we went to like Chicago or Detroit, it was like going to the moon for the first time. So to go to the UK, which we went under my ownership twice, and we went to Japan twice. Holy shit! At the time we were partnered up with Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah, and they were listen, New Japan just wasn't in the picture yet, right?
Yeah.
But they're very similar. I mean, I'm not talking about the talent, and I'm not talking about, their position in wrestling. But as far as the way they do business, they were such good people and so great to work with. How the heck would we have been able to go to Japan? We can't sell tickets. We need to, so Noah was a great partner for us, plus having their guys come over here, we're talking 2006, 7, through the whole run. And it was so cool to work with these people. And I got some great stories from going over there. And I'm forever grateful to those people. And now I'm forever grateful to the New Japan crew. Once again, these are just such, nice, honest, good people. And you don't hear those words in wrestling very much. Nice and honest.
Yeah.
But they are, and they're wonderful. And so I was very fortunate. It was so much fun to go over to England, and not once but twice. Did we make a lot of money? Probably not. It probably lost some money, but it was just cool to go there. And same with Japan. It was a unique experience. I've been very fortunate, and now, ROH participates with New Japan on these massive shows. 30,000 people, and it's really, really cool. And I definitely think that New Japan put us over the edge, meaning to help us get a sellout at the Garden.
Yeah. You know, growing up, I was always a fan of JP. And I remember
I'm sorry, of who?
Oh, Jersey All Pro Wrestling.
Okay. How old are you?
30 now.
All right. Are those guys still around?
They had a show recently, back in October, I believe. Yeah. November.
Didn't Frank die?
Yeah, Frank did pass away. You know.
Oh, man.
Did you have any memories of Frank and working with CCW?
Very little. I mean, I knew him a little, and then there were the other partners. Some who the hell were they? Pierre or these? Who did Frank? Who were the other guys there?
I just knew Frank as the figurehead, and
Pierre
does bring him.
But anyway, we did a joint show with them way back. I might have been 2004, maybe.
Yeah, I was there.
It was in New Jersey, like in Carteret or somewhere, Woodbridge, right?
Yeah, and then you also did a CCW show combined.
Oh, the CCW. Oh, yeah. That was, yeah, all right. Well, the Jersey All Pro was a quickie, and and it was like a one-off. But the CCW thing was pretty cool. Yeah. You know, Gabe Sapolsky was booking at the time, and he's a very smart guy. And oh God, what's the name of that guy from CZW? Zandig.
Yeah.
Right, John Zandig. You know, and it was the opposite of Ring of Honor as far as, you know, all their hardcore stuff. But it was cool, you know, to have this rivalry, right? Yeah. And were you guys there in the old ECW arena where the guy ran out with the weed whacker thing?
I don't remember that, but I was definitely there for one of the cross shows they had.
Where was it? At the
ECW
arena. Armory? Oh, it was at the ECW. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it was good. It was good times, man. It was good times, and it was a lot of fun. You know, we don't interact with CZW anymore, really. But I know the DJ, and he's cool, and they're doing, you know, they're doing well.
Yeah,
I believe they are. You know, as far as I know, they are. Yeah. So it's good. But those were some fun times, guys.
Was that crucial for you for growing to team up with other promotions like JAP?
Not really. I mean, it helped though. It did help, and if you think back to what was going on then, and you think back to what's going on now, it's a different world. And you know that was. But, you know, you had to take any small help you could get. And we were just talking about, you guys asked me that question about these, you know, Impact and Lucha Underground and so on and so forth, you know, the mixing of the brands. And so that was back then what we were talking about, you know, of now. You had to take what you could get, right? So, we would work with people, and it was good for the fans, and it was good for the companies.
Yeah, and looking back at you know, the first ROH show, and you know, basically it was historic, and looking how Ring of Honor has come right now. What are your memories from that first show? Well, the first show, I was just there as a fan. Yeah,
I didn't get involved for like a year, but I was there, man, and it was awesome because, you know, I was an old ECW head, and I had like seasons tickets. Yeah, there were seasons tickets. Same seats every show at the ECW arena, all through the 90s. I was when I went and saw ECW for the first time. It was like I would tell my friends who really didn't like wrestling, ooh, they're doing everything that WWE and WCW are scared to do.
Yeah.
And I'd been watching wrestling at that point, Christ, 92, 93, let me see, 83, 25 years. So for me, it was like, holy shit, these guys are really crossing the line. And it was good. I was always a fan of a little bit of blood, but not every match. But
Yeah.
it was, it was just the other thing with ECW was they had. I'll get back to your question, but they, bringing in Guerrero and Jericho and Benoit and Malenko and Terry Funk and Cactus Jack, that was, that balanced out all the hardcore stuff for me. And when they went out of business, there was this void. And that's where Ring of Honor sort of, was born. There was that void, and the company was started, and it was a different animal. Gabe, who was booking, was, watched all these tapes and tapes at the time, and he saw these, he had these West Coast guys, which was Daniel, Samoa Joe, and then he had this Texas, the crew from Shawn Michaels' school with Paul London and Brian Kendrick, Spanky, one of my best friends, and still to this day. And then there was the local guys, the Hit Squad and Prince Nana and the Christopher Street Connection. Who could forget them? And Xavier and Loki. And I know I'm leaving out some names, but you get the picture. And you put that together, and Gabe booked it right. And wasn't Eddie Guerrero on the first show?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah. That was kind of
again, super crazy, right?
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one thing I liked about you guys. You guys didn't really bring in. I mean, you guys had like Matt Hardy over the years and Shelton Benjamin, but you guys kept it pretty much newer talent that just got over.
Right. That was always the recipe with Ring of Honor, and it still is. Yes, you're not going to turn down a Cody Rhodes or a Bully Ray. I mean, these guys are awesome. Bully Ray. It's, here is a guy, this proves there can still be a heel in wrestling. There ain't no heels in WWE. I don't know, maybe Miz is, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, no one really hates the Miz. They may not, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but Bully Ray is really easy to hate, So, to your point of this newer talent, they come up, right now, I would say that we're going to see a lot of stuff. I mean, we've seen a lot already, but from Matt Taven, and in the coming year, Punishment Martinez, Silas Young, who's been around a long time, but he's like our Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah. Okay.
He's just always good, and even Beer City, I shouldn't say even. Beer City Bruiser, there's good guys. And it's going to be an interesting time in Ring of Honor as we approach Madison Square Garden. We have Final Battle coming up. We have a pay-per-view. I'm jumping around here, but we have a pay-per-view at the end of the month in Las Vegas. We have shows in Baltimore and a TV taping in Philly in October. I know I'm leaving something out here, but we have, oh God, help me out, guys. What's the name of it with the Japanese coming in November? War of the Worlds?
Yeah, War of the Worlds.
Yeah, War of the Worlds in, I think, Bangor, Maine for the first time. And then in Lynn, Massachusetts, where the hell is that? Just outside of Boston. And Buffalo and Toronto, I believe, in November. There's going to be Final Battle in New York. It hasn't gone on sale yet. I'm probably leaving out one tour. I know there's a Pittsburgh date and a Columbus date somewhere in there. And this will all be leading up to the Garden with a lot of other shows thrown in. So it's an exciting time to be a Ring of Honor fan. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. I appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight. You guys are knowledgeable dudes, and I enjoyed speaking with you.
Definitely. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
really do.
For our fans, can you tell them if they want to connect with you on social media, where they can find you?
Certainly. On Twitter, Twitter and on Instagram, it's ROHCARY, ROH Cary, and same on Facebook. And I come to to the fans. I know you guys come to the shows, but to the fans, if you're listening to this and you're a Ring of Honor fan, but you haven't gone to a show yet, please come to a show. We'd love to have you. It's a fan-friendly experience. I've always, back from my era right up till now, everyone is treated nicely. And I don't care if you go to a show anywhere. No one gets, it's not like you come to a show and it's a bomb. Everyone is working hard at every show. And it's not like some house show of one of these other companies where they don't give a damn. Everyone works their ass off. And you guys know I'm telling the truth. So come enjoy Ring of Honor with us.
And where can people get Ring of Honor on social media or even watch it on?
Well, if you're a member of the Honor Club on the Ring of Honor ROHWrestling.com website, which I believe is only $9.95 a month, you can get all the TV shows. You can get a huge library of the past pay-per-views, the past, going back to the stuff we were talking about from the first ROH show. But all these, there's thousands of hours of content. It's essentially the same thing as the WWE Network. Maybe not as much stuff, but there's a ton of stuff there. It's not expensive. You also get opportunities to buy tickets early. And once in a while, you have to pay for an event like the All In, but it's well worth it. And so just go to ROHWrestling.com and join the Honor Club and take advantage of these fantastic offers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cary, thank you again for taking out the time. We are Wrestling IQ 101. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
You have just listened to the Wrestling IQ 101 podcast, powered by B Plus Player Radio.
One more for the good guy.